Yo, what is up, YouTube? Yeah! Back for another video, man. And coming off of Super Bowl 58 when the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the 49ers last night, following a game-winning touchdown by Patrick Mahomes in overtime. Now let's get into the most disappointing teams of the 2023-24 season. These teams, they had pretty high expectations, but they crashed and burned. Where do I start? Oh yeah. Let's start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now this team came off coming back from a 27-point deficit against the Chargers in the playoffs. And they eventually lost to the Chiefs, of course. Like, this team, they were looking great. You got Doug Peterson, who's actually won a Super Bowl before. You have Trevor Lawrence, who is the future of the NFL. They start off the season 8-3. And boom, they crash and burned. Lost 5 of their last 6 games, including one of their losses was against the Joe Burrow-less Bengals. I almost said Broncos for some reason. I don't know why. How did I get Broncos with Bengals? What the heck? But losing to the Joe Burrow-less Bengals, giving up 34 points. Absolute crazy. Like, they had a chance to win the division, which they eventually lost that because they lost to the Titans in Week 18 of the season, which eventually the Texans did win that division. So yeah, that was a falling apart by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, let's get into the second team that disappointed. You know what? Since I absolutely hate this team so much, let's put the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. Team with an obnoxious fan base. And they never shut up about their 5 Super Bowls. Since I don't like them at all, and they're very irritating, let's put them at number 2. Now, they had a chance. They had their best shot to go to a conference championship game for the first time since the 1990s. And they fell apart to the Green Bay Packers, led by Jordan Love, the future of the NFL and the future of the Green Bay Packers. Right, the only reason why the Cowboys won their division is because the Eagles collapsed. And the Cowboys, they were blowing teams out, but they were getting blown up by the Bills. Got beat by Miami. In the first matchup against the Eagles, they lost. Very disappointing. And then, like, the Eagles hired Kellen Moore, which the Cowboys scapegoat, which they scapegoat all their coaches instead of blaming Dak. But that's neither here nor there. I already made a video about the truth about Dak Prescott. And I know I missed out a lot of things. Like, you're literally a 2 seed at home, never lost at home throughout the entire season. And that all of it just went away. Boom! Jordan Love outplayed Dak, not even close. Aaron Jones ran over the Cowboys. Another disappointing season by the Dallas Cowboys, like they've always been doing. Typical Cowboys fashion. Now, the third team that disappointed, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this team was coming off a Super Bowl 57 appearance and losing to the Chiefs. But they were looking good in the regular season. They started off the season 10 and... Was it 10 and 1? No, yeah, it was 10 and 1. Okay. But then when they went up against San Francisco, got blown out, their entire season changed. The trajectory of their season. Lost 5 of the last 6 games, losing to the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Giants. And their coaches ended up getting fired. And they eventually lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs, scoring only 9 points, getting blown out. Like the Eagles, they had the division at the palm of their hands. But they blew it, losing all those games. Starting with that San Francisco game, downhill ever since then. Only won once since that San Francisco loss. That was unfortunate for the Philadelphia Eagles. Will they bounce back next season? I don't know. But they had that Division 1, be honest. It was like the team, they just gave up. They just waved the white flag. Which it was sad to see. By a team coming off a Super Bowl appearance. And you're 10-1. Like, you were one of the top teams in the NFC. You were looking like the best team in the NFC at the time. But it all came crashing down for them, unfortunately. Unbelievable. Yeah, man. Let's see what other team that kind of disappointed. I'm honestly, You know what? I'm gonna have to put the Buffalo Bills on this list. I know they ended up firing the offensive coordinator during the season, because their offense was looking good since firing their offensive coordinator. But they had a shot to beat Kansas City. This was their best shot to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They still couldn't do it. Like, they were leading against the Chiefs in the divisional round, and they got a home playoff game against them. Chiefs had to go into Buffalo. All the Bills had to do was actually try and win that game, but they collapsed. Didn't do good whatsoever. It was sad to see because it was looking like they were going to run away with that game, only to fall apart. And then their kicker missed a field goal, which honestly, that should have never came down to that whatsoever. It was just unfortunate for them. I don't know if they're going to get this best shot to beat Kansas City again. Like, you never know. This could have been their best shot to beat Kansas City. Will they get a better shot at it? I don't know. Because you never know. Because teams change from season to season. This is an example. Like, just because your team made the playoffs into the Super Bowl doesn't mean it'll translate over to the next season. Right? The Chiefs, they were literally looking vulnerable at that point. You did be in the regular season. Like, the team at their weakest, you still couldn't win again. At their weakest? Like, what? Like, come on now. Like, Josh Allen, you gotta step up your game, man. You're a really good quarterback, but please step up your game. And I thought about putting this team on the list, but you can argue they kind of did have a disappointing season, kind of, but I don't know. Probably an honorable mention, probably the Ravens. They were looking like the best team in the NFL, blowing out good teams like the 49ers, beating all these good teams. Like, they were blowing out the Lions, like they were blowing everybody out. They were looking dominant. And even getting the 1 seed in the AFC. Like, come on now. Like, the only team that was beating the Chiefs, not the Chiefs, beating the Ravens were themselves. The Ravens against the Texans, they ran away with that game in the second half. And it was looking like, oh, Lamar Jackson, they were going to change those narratives. They were having hope that they could have got to a Super Bowl. Then the following week, winning against Kansas City, they beat themselves. And they only scored 10 points. And And the Kansas City Chiefs scored 17 points at the time. 17. You still couldn't score more than 10. You couldn't get past 17 points. Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers being stupid, extending at the goal line, causing him to fumble. Like, they had a bunch of opportunities to take over that game, but they just couldn't. They had one of the best rushing attacks. Or should I say, the best rushing attack. And they couldn't even run the ball in that game. Like, what? They constantly kept passing. Lamar throwing a triple coverage, man. Lamar, he's now a two-time MVP. I'll give him his props. Had a great season. Hopefully, he can finally overcome the obstacles, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. Which they are the team to beat. The Chiefs are the team to beat. Like, Lamar, he has to stop these narratives of him being a playoff choker. Like, it was their best shot to do it. Beating Kansas City, that would have been great. But unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. They just kept beating themselves, shooting themselves in the foot. The whole thing. Anyways, I'll get back to this video. Hope you have a good one.